Larson. WSYX Channel 6 Columbus. And now, Michelle Galea, Blue Forest, meteorologist Larry Cosgrove, and Steve Minnick on sports. This is Channel 6 News.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, the big job in Northern California is trying to find survivors, anyone who still might be alive under the debris caused by the killer earthquake last night.
Today was a day of regrouping for the people in town shaken by the earthquake that experts now say hit 7 on the Richter scale.
Rescuers are using dogs to sniff out any sign of life in the rubble of what used to be homes, offices, shopping centers. The people here spent the day trying to find loved ones who still haven't been found since the earthquake hit just before dark last night.
I mean, what should we do? Who should we contact? Should we wait?
Rescue workers are going building by building looking for signs of life. Others are on the look for buildings that are also casualties of the tremendous shakes and aftershocks. Many buildings in San Francisco and points south have been condemned. For the people whose lives have been shaken from their foundations, it is now life at emergency shelters. Imagine no electricity, which means some people can't get official information on what has already happened. More than 1 million people are without power and probably will be for several days. There is no phone service. There is no water. At the collapsed highway in Oakland, where more than 250 people were killed when their cars were flattened by concrete and steel, now sonic detectors are being brought in for the search for anyone who might still be alive. Tonight, there was a cry of life on this highway of death. A survivor was found trapped in a car. Still, rescue workers reported seeing scores of bodies under the highway, bodies they could not recover yet.
Again, just moments ago, we found out that sound, that cry they thought was perhaps that of a human life was not. There was no survivor found late tonight in that Oakland Bridge collapse. More than 270 people have been killed by the earthquake. More than 1,400 have been injured. And to add to the terror of the people there, seismologists have registered more than 1,400 aftershocks that certainly are keeping people nervous. Most people are hoping the earthquake was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Ben Piscatelli talked with Central Ohioans who were in the Bay Area during the tragedy.
It seems like tourists from Central Ohio were among the first lining up for tickets home when the airport reopened in San Francisco this morning. Tom O'Shaughnessy came back with 2 chunks of Candlestick Park. He was waiting in the upper deck for Game 3 of the World Series when the tremors hit.
The people in the seats really, they started cheering because they thought it was just like a little tremor. But when I saw these babies fall next to me, I said, this isn't a tremor. I'm getting out of here.
And Dave Sabatka will always have an Oakland newspaper to remind him of what he saw. He was riding a hotel escalator when San Francisco started to rumble.
Somebody asked me yesterday, where do you think it's safe? And the Goodyear blimp was there. I said, get up in that blimp.
People are coming home tired and hungry. The quake made them afraid to go to sleep last night. And since San Francisco lost water and electricity, too, a lot of them have gone without hot showers and hot meals for the past 24 hours.
Are you all right?
And these Californians here for a visit said the quake felt like they were
surfing on land.
Yeah, the ground was going like this. The ground was really rolling like this.
On the bottom of your feet.
We couldn't stand up.
The woman and her friend grew up in Ohio and say earthquake dangers are just a trade-off. After all, they don't worry about tornadoes anymore. Ben Piscatelli, WSYX, Channel 6 News, Columbus.
President Bush today signed a disaster declaration for the Northern California areas hit by the earthquake. Mr. Bush is freeing up $273 million from a Hurricane Hugo fund that wasn't being used and sending it directly to California. Vice President Dan Quayle, who was in San Diego when the earthquake hit, took a tour of the devastation today. The president says he will see for himself what happened in a personal trip later this week.
A lot of you have been calling us for information on how to get in touch with your friends or relatives on the West Coast. The local Red Cross has set up this number to take your calls. The number is area code 614-252-5663. Volunteers can help you with any questions you might have. They can also tell you what to do if you would like to donate something toward relief efforts.
And the American Red Cross is not the only group helping victims of the earthquake. There are 450,000 ham radio operators in the United States who go into action when a disaster strikes. As Kim Norris reports, even with no phones or electricity, they are a major link for emergency communication.
This is WA2B at TW, Columbus, Ohio. I have 1 health and welfare for San Francisco. Over.
Ralph
Kickett is one of 2,500 Central Ohio ham radio operators. He's talked with hundreds of fellow hammers and to people in desperate need of information about loved ones.
It sounds like things are pretty much okay and that they'll be in touch whenever it's possible.
Ham radio operators work in their home or out of their car. Usually it's just a hobby. That's until there's a disaster. Then they become the major communication link with people in need. Calls came in today from as far as Paris, France, asking about San Francisco residents.
Near Paris, France, and he was asking me to find out about his 3 children who are living in Soquillo, California.
Most of the calls are like this. Leave a message and wait sometimes hours for a reply. Ralph was not anxious to break into radio transmission without an emergency. This is serious business for ham operators. They are licensed by the government, sometimes first on the scene with news.
We've heard this morning that AT&T has cut off the incoming telephone calls because of the tremendous overload.
It's operators like Ralph who make their hobby a public service, helping others when disaster strikes. Kim Norris, WSYX, Channel 6 News, Reynoldsburg.
As devastating as the California earthquake was, some are saying the worst is yet to come, and it might be coming a whole lot closer to Columbus. On our early show, we talked with Dr. Dennis Benson, a scientist called by the National Academy of Sciences to study earthquake warning and detection in California.
Yesterday's quake was serious for San Francisco, but it was not the big one. And a lot of experts believe that the big one will be here sometime in the next 11 years.
Wait, when you said here, I didn't catch that. Here?
East of the Mississippi. The most serious earthquake ever in the United States occurred on the New Madrid Fault, and that's sort of between Memphis and St. Louis.
And Benson says Ohio would definitely feel a massive quake along the New Madrid Fault, but there's no way to predict exactly when that might happen.
In other news tonight, the Space Shuttle Atlantis got off the ground today after several tries. And tonight, the astronauts on board completed their main mission, sending the Galileo probe on a 6-year roundabout journey to Jupiter. It's a mission that is supposed to give us the closest look yet at the colossus of the solar system. Concerns of protesters about the space probe's nuclear power supply were left behind on Earth as the space shuttle performed flawlessly. Back on Earth, a not-so-flawless electrical system is being blamed for a Northwest Airlines jet being forced to make an emergency landing at a small unattended airport in Monte Vista, Colorado. The plane slid off a short runway and into some mud. The captain had to use an axe to get the doors open. Despite that, there were no serious injuries to the 104 people on board. Just a terrifying experience. Plane on a flight from Minneapolis to Phoenix.
A big shakeup in East Germany today. East German leader Erich Honecker, who oversaw the building of the Berlin Wall, resigned today amid growing protests and calls for democratic reforms. His successor is Egon Krenz, who shares Honecker's reputation as a conservative hardliner. Krenz, however, is reportedly looking at easing travel restrictions to the West. Krenz is also the youngest member of East Germany's ruling Politburo at 77 years old. Up next, Hilliard police are in Arkansas tonight.
And a sensible way to get kids to shed pounds. That story coming up on Health Watch.
Police in Arkansas have picked up a teenager wanted in the slaying of 69-year-old Margaret Jane Fisher, and sources tell Channel 6 News tonight the boy will be back in Columbus tomorrow. Fisher's body was found here in an industrial park about a week ago. She was shot twice in the head. Early this morning, police arrested 17-year-old Gerald Lee Atkins Jr. on a minor traffic violation just outside Little Rock. Atkins has been charged with Fisher's murder. Police also found his 17-year-old girlfriend who was traveling with him, but they questioned her and let her go. And tonight, a Columbus dad is charged with murdering his infant son. They rushed 9-month-old Mark Lemaster II to the hospital on Monday, but he never recovered from his head injuries and died the next day. Today, after questioning the father, police charged him with the baby's death. The father's name, Mark E. Lemaster. His son was named after him.
In the last 15 years, obesity in children has increased by 50%. Too little exercise, too much TV are turning our children into little couch potatoes. That means they may pay the price as adults with increased risks of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. Tonight, our medical specialist, Dr. Nelson Krause, starts a 3-part series on healthy eating and looks at our kids' habits.
Right. Tonight, the kids, tomorrow, the adults, and then on Friday, a look at how to eat well in restaurants. slowly, we in medicine slowly are learning that we really are what we eat. Our dietary habits have a tremendous impact not only on our health, but on the health of our children. Meet 10-year-old Sherry Alter. She's a young girl making important changes in her life, changes that are helping her lose weight. Sherry's battled extra pounds since she was a baby. At school, the kids called her names.
It did hurt my feelings. I had tried diets before, but none of them have worked. And my mom said the main thing is exercise. So I started exercising with the diets, and it still didn't work, because then the diets just make you hungrier.
Hi, come on in.
But now Sherry and her parents have started a program called Shape Down. It's not a diet, but a way to change how you eat. A workbook helps kids and parents learn about nutrition, the importance of regular exercise, and how to make healthy choices.
So I don't focus on, did you know that there are 200 calories in a Pop-Tart, but I'll say, which of these two things do you think would be the healthier to eat, and which would have less fat in it?
The emphasis with programs like this is to help kids learn how to eat for health and enjoyment rather than feeling they need to restrict and then overindulge. And they do this with the whole family, which can be an essential part of their success. Finally, the kids learn how to recognize and deal with their true feelings, and that allows them to cope without turning to food. Now, the Shape Down program is based in California, but there are a number of good weight loss programs for kids right here in our area. One good example is the Body Shop over at Mount Carmel's Nutrition Center. If you want information about that, here's their number, 225-5819. That's 225-5819. Lou and Michelle?
Okay, a lot of call for this, do you think?
Kids are really starting to have problems in this country with obesity. And when you get it early, you have a much better chance of having an impact.
That program at Mount Carmel for kids of any age?
8 to 18.
I see.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Still to come, keep the heat turned up.
Larry checks the forecast when we come back. Larry Cosgrove with a weather forecast, and get out those extra quilts and blankets. We're going to need them.
Umbrellas, too.
Oh, no.
We've got rain developing right now. Rain, wind, and cold, everything you asked for in a forecast. Examined today, we had rain, wind, and cold. The high temperature 47, the low at 40. Normal 64 and 42, and a trace of rain today. And outside, it's a cold, blustery 43 degrees. 70% relative humidity. Barometer rising at 30.19. Northeast wind 8 miles per hour. Temperature statewide, yikes, they are cold. 38 Toledo, 42 at Chesapeake. Kelly Malone has 36 degrees in Galleon. Cloudy, cold, windy, and rainy. Look at this radar tonight. We've got moderate to heavy rain, Zanesville down to Athens, and it's all converging northward toward Columbus and to our north and east. So count on lots of clouds, wind, and rain again through tomorrow because this is a big storm. In fact, you look at this radar summary, the western edge of this precipitation is mainly snow. It's snowing in Indianapolis, Indiana, and there will be heavy snow tonight, Illinois, around Terre Haute, Indiana, up to near Chicago. So if you're traveling west in 70 tonight, watch out. Going west of Richmond, there will be some problems. We're going to have our own problem out this way with heavy rain. There may be some flooding. If you're traveling down to southeast Ohio, West Virginia, that general area expecting 2 or 3 inches of rain. The temperatures aren't cooperating either. They'll be cold, but not cold enough for snow in Columbus. The true cold air where the snow is, Indiana, Illinois in the 30s. You'll see mainly 40s here. This is a big block of cold air. It's going to be around for a while. And into Friday, we're going to see the storm pull off to the north near Erie, Pennsylvania. Behind it, a tongue of cloudy, cold, unstable air with, guess what, snow showers into our weekend. Here's our forecast then for tonight. We'll get right to it. Rain developing, windy and chilly down to 40. Then tomorrow morning, heavy rain, windy and cold. Temperatures only in the lower 40s. The afternoon, lighter rain, still windy and kind of cool, 45 for the high. Tomorrow night, variable cloudiness, windy and colder, 33 for a low. Sounds so ominous, I know. Friday, there we go. Showers and flurries, windy and cold at 44. All snow showers Saturday, 42 then. But wait, there's hope. Sunday and Monday gets warmer and clear. Sunshine in the lower 60s by Monday, which we'll need going back to work by then.
I think so. Thank you, Larry.
Right.
Before we go any further, too, I want to make one correction. I goofed a little while ago. I said that Egon Krenz, the new leader of East Germany, was 77. He is not 77. He is 52.
Ooh, yeah.
That makes him the youngest member of the ruling
Okay, I'm glad we got
circle
that
there.
straight.
Well, in the interest of accuracy.
Right. More nights without the World Series.
And Steve will have more on that and the rest of the sports when we come back.
Major League Baseball is taking a wait-and-see attitude out on the West
Well, they've
Coast.
said they're not going to play any World Series games until at least Tuesday, but if the city is semi-back to normal by then, Tuesday is when we will see Game 3. Now, providing the series does resume Tuesday night, it'll be the longest delay between games since rain postponed the 1911 World Series for a week. Ironically, that series was also played between the Giants and Athletics, only then it was the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Athletics, but still quite a coincidence. So here's the tentative schedule of games beginning Tuesday night with Game 3 in San Francisco, Game 4, and if necessary, Game 5 also in San Francisco on Wednesday and Thursday. Then again, if necessary, they'll return to Oakland Saturday and Sunday for Games 6 and 7. Depending on who you believe, the Cincinnati Reds may or may not have offered Dallas Green the job as manager. Green says yes, the Reds have offered, but he's not sure if he wants it. The Reds, though, say they've offered the job to no one. Former Buckeye Jay Burston's still hoping the Houston Rockets offer him a job. A few more plays like that one last night in Cleveland, and they might. So far, Burston likes what he sees in himself. However, we all know it's the coach who has the final say.
It's just like being a freshman in college all over again. You have those ups and downs. One day you're going to play real good, and one day you're not. And I'm just trying to keep an even keel and play as hard as I can.
I really don't know if he has the body yet. I think he has the know-how, fundamentals, the instinct. He has the savvy.
Jay just 6 feet, 145 pounds. He had 2 shots blocked last night, plus turned it over 4 times. Unfortunately, numbers like that aren't going to win him a job. Well, for those of you who sat through the many high school soccer playoff games tonight, I hope you have the electric blanket cranked. These frigid folks watching the Grove City Marion Harding game. Some great stops here by Marion Harding's goalie Andrew Todd, time after time, turning back the Grove City shots. Finally, though, Grove City's Sean Brace will fire it in from long range. This shot made it 1-0. Grove City went on to win it, advancing to the second round with a 2-1 win. On the ice tonight, Detroit handed Minnesota its first loss of the year. Dave Barr scores for the Red Wings as Detroit won it 4-3. Hartford, St. Louis, Toronto, Montreal, and New Jersey also won tonight in the NHL. And finally, tonight, the referees have admitted they made a huge mistake in Saturday's Ohio State-Indiana game, a mistake that could have saved the game. For the Buckeyes, it happened on that free kick late in the game. You clearly see Vinnie Clark stepping out of bounds before he recovers the ball. Well, today the Big Ten's chief of officials said his crew made the wrong call. What they should have done was had a re-kick with Ohio State moving back 5 yards. So, interesting call.
Well, they're not going to do that.
Nothing
right?
can be done
stands.
about it. That's it.
All right. Coming up, a little boy comes a long way to win your heart.
You'll meet BJ next on Wednesday's Child. After a newscast so thick with stories about death and disaster, we'd like to end on a happier note, but we're going to have to settle for a bittersweet story about a little boy who has been homeless for almost half his life. BJ came all the way from Toledo to be on Wednesday's Child tonight. He's not the easiest kid to get along with, but then again, he has not had an easy life. You can find terror for every taste here, from scary masks to fake blood and guts in a bag. We check them all out, but BJ picks this one. Oh, I love it. Can you see me through there? Do it. BJ can be an aggressive kid. He's been rejected and hurt, and this is one of the ways he tries to fight back. But he's got a sweet side, too, and he thinks he can fool us with the old swallow the sword trick. Whoops. Well, what's he really going to be for Halloween? Freddy Krueger, of course.
Have you really seen all the Freddy Krueger movies?
Except 5.
And how do they make him feel?
Happy.
Happy? Yeah, BJ can be rough and tough, and sometimes he pretends he just doesn't care. But in lots of ways, he's just like the kid down the block.
When you look forward to Halloween, what's the best thing about Halloween?
Candy.
What's your favorite?
Candy. What kind? Just candy.
Just candy with lots of sugar in it. BJ's caseworker told me he's an exceptionally bright kid. He does well in school, but he needs a mom and dad with a strong heart and wills of steel. If you would like to meet him, please call Lutheran Social Services right away.
And that's our news tonight. Thanks for being with us. Good night.
Good night now.